Funding for transportation got a $1 billion boost thanks to the $17.5 billion budget surplus. Both the Senate and the House have recently passed funding packages to support transportation over the next 2 years. Joining me to highlight aspects of the Senate's proposal is the chair of the Senate Transportation Committee, Senator Scott Dibble. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Shannon.
You've said that the legislature has not invested meaningfully in Minnesota's transportation infrastructure in 30 years. This bill includes $1 billion of the surplus in one-time spending. How far will this and the proposed tax increases that we will talk about in a moment go in meeting the state's needs?
Well, $1 billion is a lot of money. Transportation infrastructure is very expensive. And it's also subject to all of the inflationary pressure that we've been hearing about, and construction inflation is actually a little bit worse. So we're going to get a lot of good things done with these one-time dollars. However, they are just one-time dollars, so we're going to get some projects done and some priorities and help improve public safety. The transportation bill includes Department of Public Safety, trooper types of investments as well. So it's a good start, but the important thing is to make sure that we have some sustained, ongoing revenue that supports the overall infrastructure, the roads, the bridges, local roads, local bridges, as well as our transit system.
And you're previewing my next question just a little bit, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Last year's report card by Minnesota civil engineers gave the state some pretty low grades when it comes to infrastructure. It was a D+ for roads, it was a C for bridges, it was a C- for transit. The finance bill contains an increase to the vehicle registration tax, an increase in license tab fees, and an increase in motor vehicle sales tax. So some critics are saying, why do we need to raise taxes when there is this enormous surplus?
Well, as you mentioned in your opening comments, citing me, we haven't really made a meaningful investment in our overall transportation infrastructure for 30 years. We did pass a bill in 2007/2008. It was kind of a process. And it put a little bit of new revenue into the system, but prior to that, it was really 20 years prior to that. So it's been a long time. We've lost a lot of ground relative to the size of our population, the deterioration of our roads. We've lost a lot of ground relative to inflation. All the revenue sources actually within transportation, remember, transportation is funded outside of the general fund. So when we're talking about the surplus, we're talking about the general fund, which supports education and healthcare. Are in decline. So we've got a large system that we've inherited from those who passed before us, which is wonderful and a fantastic legacy for our state. That's why we've been a successful state economically. But that roadway system, everyone can see as they drive around, whether it's trunk highways or the county roads or our local city roads, are full of potholes. We had this really rough winter, lots of freeze-thaw, lots of potholes. That's because we just haven't taken care of the system. The revenues are declining, the system is deteriorating, and we need to make the investment so that we have a really good economic infrastructure now and one to pass on to those who are going to follow us the way we got to inherit such a great system.
In terms of transit, both the House and the Senate are proposing a metro area sales tax to pay for transit-related needs. The Senate's proposal is 0.5%. The House is 0.75%. What's your argument to your House counterparts to keep it on the lower end?
Well, this is a negotiation, so we'll have some discussion about what is the actual need, what is the reality of transit, and what transit means, both for keeping the young professional workforce here in the metro. We talk about population loss in Minnesota and the metro area. And those are young people going to other urban centers that have transit, that have bike walk, that have really vital and vibrant communities. We also understand transit as fundamental to people who either can't or have real barriers in terms of accessing jobs and school and other opportunities, whether they're low income or senior citizens, or if there's an age issue or some sort of geographic barrier. So I'm not sure that I'm adamant that we're going to stay at 0.5. I don't know that we need to go up to 0.75. We're going to have this conversation about what is the real need and what does transit investment in terms of the prosperity and individual success, as well as success of our overall economy, is going to look like.
Bring Me the News cited data from Metro Transit earlier this year that showed crime on buses and light rail rose 54% over the previous year. WCCO in March captured video of flagrant drug use on the Blue Line and the Green Line. What does this budget do to improve safety?
Quite a bit. So we are extremely concerned about that. I actually take transit, not every day, but I try to take transit once a week or once every 2 weeks. And so I see it and experience it myself. We had a lot of testimony. We had this one young man with a disability who used to take, very, very proud of his job, used to take the train every day. He was assaulted on the train, and now he just doesn't take transit anymore. His mom needs to drive him. And we've seen the news. It is an existential threat to the viability and usability of our transit system. So we have an important initiative where we're really going to kind of have the right approach to enforcing violations. Some stuff is criminalized way too heavily, so it's not even taken seriously when those charges are made. So we need to make sure we have the right type of violation that people receive so that there is a follow-through and a consequence. Putting a lot more personnel on the trains, shy of law enforcement, but can enforce for behavioral issues and other kinds of violations. Also help people who need help, even just people who need direction. Make sure the stations are clean, everything is orderly, but also there's going to have to be a law enforcement response as well. So there's resources as well as a whole initiative to really change the tone and the culture and the expectations on our transit system. It's job number one.
The Southwest Light Rail Transit project has taken significantly more time and cost significantly more money than was projected. This bill would remove the authority for projects like this from the Met Council and instead give it to the Minnesota Department of Transportation. How will this change make a difference for future projects?
So that change in particular will allow for an agency with demonstrated capacity and competency to build large projects, managing large prime contractors, the complexity and the expense that goes into managing these gigantic infrastructure projects. MnDOT is expert at that. They've actually built the Blue Line from downtown Minneapolis to the Airport Mall of America and did an excellent job. Plus they built, giant bridges and, all kinds of, and they do a great job. They bring almost all their projects in on time and under budget or at budget. And so it'll really improve that situation. Met Council has some other issues that have come to light through a lot of this analysis investigation. The whole process of responsiveness and accountability and interaction and relationship with the metropolitan area which it represents, which it delivers important, vital, frontline, daily local services that people touch and feel and use every single day. It's not an elected body. It's an appointed body. It has the right to tax. It has the right to supersede local laws. It delivers these phenomenally important and very, very expensive services. And I feel like it really needs to function better, be more accountable, be more responsive, and it needs to be an elected body, much like counties are and cities are. It's basically a large county. And so it needs to transform itself that way.
So Met Council, there's a move to make it an elected body also in this bill?
There are some pieces in there, not straight up, but a process by which it would hopefully get to that point.
Okay, one final question. $50 million is provided in the Senate plan for the Northern Lights Express, which is a passenger railway from the Twin Cities to Duluth. Why is this investment and others in intercity passenger rail important for the future?
Well, the whole means by which we provide alternatives to driving for a whole bunch of different reasons, giving people access to all kinds of opportunities throughout the state, throughout the region, not necessarily forcing them to drive is good for giving more people access to opportunities. There's going to be a lot of veterans, for example, who come down to the Twin Cities to access the VA. There's going to be a lot of students and a lot of workers who can really locate in Duluth and work in the cities and vice versa, because it's going to be a very, very fast commute between the two. And it also has an environmental benefit. The projections, and it's not just about getting from Duluth to Twin Cities, but all the points in between as well. So the economic vibrancy that occurs and the opportunities that occur for people all along the route. Not just the route itself, but people who drive to the route. So there's a whole travel shed of people who are going to benefit from this investment.
Senator Scott Dibble, thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.